It wasn't my alarm that woke me up at 3:04 a.m. It was the recognizable sound of a key being turned in. My front door lock, halfway through the twist, the key became stuck. In a split second, my two Belgian Malinois, Rex and Duke, moved from sound sleep to full alert from their beds in the living room. Like distant thunder, their low, rumbling growls reverberated throughout the home. I saw Patricia Garrison, the president of the Maple Grove Estates, HOA, standing on my porch, wearing what I can only characterize as a burglar starter kit via my phone's security camera feed. She was wearing all black, holding what she termed her universal access key in one shaking hand, and had a headlamp attached to her forehead. She jiggled the key more forcefully when it didn't work, muttering something I couldn't quite hear over the audio line. At that moment, Rex and Duke, armed with two furry battering rams, charged at the front door. The whole frame trembled with the hit as Patricia staggered backward, tripped over my welcome mat, and collided with the allia shrubs my wife had planted last spring. Her shriek was likely audible from 3 blocks away. Her headlamp exploded, shedding light on her horrified face as she clambered on her hands and knees in the direction of the pavement. I massaged my eyes, sat up in bed, and spoke to my wife, Sarah, in a weary tone. In fact, she gave it a try. Patricia made an actual attempt to enter our home. Sarah mumbled something about contacting the police this time as she moaned and pulled a pillow over her head. Already, I had dialed 911. I'll give you a recap of how we arrived at this conclusion. I'm Tom Morrison, a retired Air Force veteran who recently relocated to Sterling Heights Maple Grove Estates 3 years prior. All I wanted was a peaceful neighborhood where I could run my 2 service dogs in the backyard and work on my classic automobile restoration business from my garage. Duke and Rex are more than simply pets. They served with me abroad and are extremely skilled canine units. Duke received training in patrol and protection, while Rex focused on bomb detection. They never lost their advantage, even if their primary specialties in retirement were napping and sandwich meat theft. When we moved in, Patricia Garrison had served as HOA president for 12 years, standing roughly 5'3" in her orthopedic shoes. She was 65 years old and ruled the Maple Grove Estates as if they were her own country. Even at 3 in the morning, her steel gray hair, which she wore in a helmet like Bob, was always immaculately styled. It seems that a navy blue blazer with a dinner plate-sized HOA president pin was her favorite ensemble. The issue began mildly. Initially, I received a notice that my grass was 1/4 inch too long. Then, when the mail carrier showed up, there were complaints about Rex and Duke barking for precisely 4 seconds. She had a leather-bound notebook with her everywhere where she recorded everything, measured everything, and timed everything. Residents would scatter when they saw her carrying what she called her compliance journal along the street. The notes swiftly became more serious. Despite the fact that my mailbox was the normal black color that came with the house, she didn't like it. Despite the fact that I always used a tarp, she claimed that my driveway had too many oil stains from working on cars. She said that when my dogs sat peacefully behind our 6-foot privacy fence, observing passersby, they were threatening. The demands for the inspection followed. Patricia maintained that she was entitled to conduct a quarterly inspection of every residence in the community to confirm compliance. She would arrive with a clipboard during dinner time and insist on inspecting our shower grout, our attic insulation, and our water heater. She became much more irate when I consistently declined in a kind manner. Patricia revealed at a homeowners association meeting approximately 6 months ago that she had commissioned a master key for every property in Maple Grove Estates. She asserted that it was for community safety and emergency access. I protested right away, along with a few of my neighbors, pointing out that this was a serious security danger and totally unlawful. Patricia dismissed us with a wave, claiming that we were obviously unaware of the rules governing communal harmony. The late-night visits began at that point. Initially, she would simply stand at the end of my driveway around 10 o'clock at night, shooting occasional pictures and writing in her journal. She then advanced to posting polite messages on my door at midnight. These weren't your typical letters of violation. They were odd, meandering manifestos about how my rebellious energy was ruining the neighborhood's funyu and the spiritual significance of maintaining a consistent lawn. I set up a complete security system with cameras on every side of my home 2 weeks prior to the 3 a.m. occurrence. Additionally, I upgraded all of my locks to high-security deadbolts that were impenetrable by bumping or picking. I wanted to be ready because I felt Patricia's behavior was getting worse. It was actually what I had been expecting to happen the night she attempted to utilize her so-called master key. She had given me what she described as a final warning of immediate compliance necessity earlier that day. The paper, which appeared to have been created using Microsoft Paint, required me to submit to a thorough home inspection within 24 hours or risk the harshest sanctions possible, as decided by the HOA board's supreme power. Patricia was discovered hiding under my neighbor's trash cans, which were covered with Aaliyah petals and mulch. When the cops arrived at 3:20 a.m., she launched into a tirade about her power as president of the HOA and her unassailable right to perform emergency inspections. I knew her from the local Veterans Coffee Club, and Officer Daniel Reeves gave her a barely disguised look of doubt when she produced a crumpled piece of paper that she said was a legal document that gave her universal access. In his deadpan accent, Officer Reeves replied, "Ma'am, this looks to be a template you downloaded from the internet and filled in with crayon." After looking at the paper in his flashlight, Patricia's face flushed as she said that because she had it notarized, it was legally binding. She began yelling accusations of corruption and conspiracy when Officer Reeves revealed that the notary seal was actually a gold star sticker from an elementary school teacher supply kit. I gave the officers access to 6 months' worth of videotape, which showed Patricia trespassing on my property, trying to look through my windows, and even attempting to use a bobby pin to pick my gate lock. Additionally, I had recordings of her leaving me frightening voicemails about the consequences of non-compliance, including one particularly unsettling one in which she promised to find a way somehow. Patricia was taken into custody on suspicion of stalking, criminal trespass, and attempted breaking and entering. She yelled that without her leadership, the entire community would fall apart as they escorted her to the patrol car. She insisted that someone water her prize-winning petunias and feed her 3 cats. Jim, my neighbor, said he would see to it that her cats were fed, but he gave no assurances regarding the word quickly circulated around Maple Grove Estates the following morning. An emergency HOA meeting was called by noon. Sarah and I went, and I brought copies of all my paperwork. Our findings were startling. For more over 10 years, Patricia had been operating the HOA like her own personal thief. She had stolen $47,000 from the community budget and used it for conferences for HOA leadership, which she claimed were personal trips. She had been issuing fines that went straight into her personal account instead of the HOA treasury and had falsified signatures on official documents. When we looked over the original HOA bylaws, the true kicker was revealed. Without the board's consent, Patricia had been making increasingly strange changes to them, such as requiring the planting of lawn gnomes and specifying the colors that garden hoses may be painted. The board rejected her attempt to enact a regulation, mandating that all residents provide her with a spare key in case of emergency. She reportedly made the decision to use her master key scheme to resolve the issue on her own at that point. We discovered Patricia's war room in her basement while conducting the investigation. She kept thorough records of every residence, including pictures shot through windows, audio recordings of intimate conversations she had overheard while hiding near garden fences, and intricate charts that tracked who came and went. Her neighborhood map featured red needles indicating troublesome homes, while mine had so many pins it resembled a porcupine. Hundreds of drafts of violation warnings that she never sent were on her computer, ranging from charges that a neighbor's wind chimes were engaging in witchcraft to grievances regarding the angle of someone's satellite dish. With an anticipated revenue of over $200,000 in the first month alone, she had a spreadsheet that calculated the fines she intended to impose once she obtained access to residences. Patricia's trial judge was not amused. Her attempt to represent herself went about as smoothly as one could anticipate. She produced her compliance journal as proof, ostensibly unaware that it included thorough records of her own transgressions. The judge reminded her that she was the one who attempted to break into my house at 3 a.m. when she accused me of teaching Rex and Duke to be attack machines. Patricia was found guilty of every charge. She was sentenced to 2 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and a $93,000 compensation order to the impacted residents and the HOA. Additionally, she received a permanent restraining order that places her 500 feet away from all Maple Grove Estate's assets and occupants. Patricia rose up and said that we would all be punished the day we betrayed her when the court read the sentence. Patricia fainted in the courtroom, knocking over her lawyer's water pitcher as she did so. And the judge added an additional 6 months for contempt of court.